Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to Water Tanks, and today I'm playing in the Tier 8 Italian tech tree tank destroyer. It is the SMV CC67. This tank is actually a pretty hidden gem. A pretty hidden gem. A gem that is pretty, well, not so much. I mean, look at this tank. I'd say it looks pretty ugly. And the way that also, when it turns its turret, it kind of tilts its turret to the side a little bit, can make it feel very awkward inside the sniper mode. But apart from that, it is actually a stonking tank inside the Italian tech tree. There are two guns on this vehicle that are competitive, both the 105mm and the 120. If you use the 105, you have a little bit more DPM, but you actually have significantly less alpha, 320 instead of 400. And because the intra-clip reload, although it's a little bit better at 5 rather than 7, I personally prefer using the 120, mostly because this thing has great high explosive anti-tank rounds, 300mm of penetration, whereas the other gun, I have to just have a quick check here, actually only has 242, and that is a real big difference. 242 on your premium compared to 300. It's awful. And so when you actually get up against tier 9 and tier 10 tanks, I prefer the 120. Also, it has the added benefit of being able to research the 120 on this tank a lot quicker than having to go through, I believe, 2 guns before you get the top 105. However, the 120 does have its issues, and that is that it's got horrible base accuracy. I believe it's 0.42 base accuracy, and so sniping in this thing is definitely not going to work out for you. But I always feel that the Italian tank destroyers, they're not really snipers, are they? I think they're vehicles that are best played on the front line. Accordingly, on both of my accounts, and today I'm playing on my Plays for Free account, which I don't spend any money on, and I don't have lots of advantages like premium consumables. On both of my accounts, I use Vents, Durability Device, and Turbo on these tanks. And what that gives you is really good durability. Look at that, 1,410 hit points for a tier 8 tank destroyer. It's crazy. When you think about it, the old ISU 152 used to have 1,000 hit points. A lot of the other TDs have about 1,000, although Wargaming have actually been buffing them. Now the ISU 152 has 1,200 hit points, and I believe they just upped the hit points of the French AMX AC48 as well, the other auto-loading tier 8 tech tree tank, up to I think it's about 1,150, unless I'm mistaken. This vehicle is just so flexible to play. I can take it into any kind of situation and do anything. And really, the Italian tank destroyers, they've been an absolute pleasure to play through, both on my free-to-play account and on my main account. Obviously, on my main account, where I'm using a premium consumable, that kind of 5% accuracy, 5%, not intra-clip, but reload on the magazine, and the 5% aim time really come in handy. Not to mention also the 5% view range and the fact that I've probably got a slightly better crew, which really kind of makes this 360 meters that you see on the minimap here not look very good, even with vents, right? But apart from all of those advantages that you get from using a premium consumable, this tank's pretty alright free to play. The 7-second intra-clip reload on the Italian TDs, remember, can't be improved with things like a gun rammer. And that's because you can't use a gun rammer on it as an autoloader. But it also can't be improved with crew skills, brothers in arms, vents, a premium consumable. All of those things can't improve intra-clip, which is why I actually really enjoy playing autoloaders on my free-to-play account, because the burst damage is what you see is what you get. Another thing that's not actually improved by crew skills is the bloom after firing on an autoloader. Sure, your aim time will, which will be able to make your reticle zero in towards its maximum accuracy quicker, and your accuracy will from your crew skills, but that intra-clip is not actually changed at all, and the bloom after firing also not changed at all. And so yeah, autoloaders just feel really good free to play. And so I'd thoroughly recommend trying them out if you are a free-to-play player, if you haven't done so already. That's coming from somebody who has had the most pay-to-win setups on their autoloaders, and also the most free-to-play ones as well. Although I have to admit, autoloaders kind of become this own little enigma when you start to get really good equipment and all of the field mods on them. I'm thinking about the AMX Foch B, for example. Once you get the penultimate field mod that reduces the bloom after firing, and then you combine that with maybe like a bounty rotation device to be able to prevent the bloom after firing even more, oof, the thing's just an absolute savage. And what you can do with really good equipment on autoloaders, as well as also the correct field mods, it really allows them to transcend into a different kind of animal. Talking about a different kind of animal, I'm up here on my perch. That's right, looking down on all the mere mortals down below and just delivering shells of righteous fury from above. Yes, God complex much. But I have to admit, when you're in a top tier matchup like this with no artillery, you have to feel it, right? You have to feel it. Unfortunately for me, I made my advance along the southeast and then got caught by a T-29 who's holding a valiant position. And I really didn't want to go and advance into all of those tank destroyers that I knew would be sitting in base. So instead, I fell back. I've done some damage to some tier 6, done some damage to some tier 7s, and now I'm looking to see how I can manage to get this 88. And it's just a little pillar of rock sticking up, jutting up from the ground that I'm going to have to avoid here. And ooh, yes, no, 0.42 accuracy on this 120 is not very good. But you know, that extra pen, the fact that like your gold rounds would be so gnarly if I wanted to be able to use them, and the 226 on the standard rounds, it's not bad. But I have to admit, this is definitely a very good gold noob tank. Not very free to play, right? But I've been managing to make it work so far with standard rounds in this game. But it is a very nice matchup, right? Alright, so even though we've been involved in the battle as much as we possibly could, I feel, at least, and I've put myself in positions where I've at least been hopefully useful, it hasn't really gone too well for me. I'm wondering if it was a misplay by me to actually leave the southeast corner, but honestly, what am I going to do? Just sit there underneath a T-29 gun and then not ever advance in that situation? I don't think it was going to work. And if I wasn't in this central position, I wouldn't be catching up all the vehicles down below and thinning out the herd of enemy tanks. And that's because we now find ourselves in a 3 versus 10 scenario. And the Tiger P, they don't look like they're long left for this world with only 120 hit points. And so I'm trying to set up shop here. I've got a Borask on my team. Their name is Vendar Renant. And we are going to become a bit of a two-man army in this game. Spoilers. Just going to have to stay tuned to see. But I think you don't need to have too much predictive capacity to be able to guess what kind of a situation we're going to get into. With a god tier French medium tank over towards my right, and then me up on the hill. And I'm going to do something a little bit sneaky here. I'm going to go and wedge my vehicle up this rock, and I'm going to be able to see through the bush. And whoa, hello, 4 enemy tanks. Good thing I was able to catch them, and they didn't even see me. Because that means that I get the ambush. First shot into the CC-56, removing 473 of their hit points. I'm going to go for their lower plate here. And, oh, it goes slightly high. But I even had a 50-50 to go through there. So I decide for the second shot, why don't I just go through the side? It's a bigger target. And especially if they turn to the left instead of to the right. And now I'm asking for help, hopefully for my Borask on this 88. And right now, it's about just trying to stay alive for as long as possible, to reload, and to try and keep as much of my thick armor towards as many of my opponents as possible. And Vendar finishes off the E25. So actually now it's a 3 versus, 9 situation here? Not too bad. And a good shot through there on the 88. Now hopefully going to be able to deal 1 to the CC-56, but that's a terrifying tank. I'd love to get a shot into the T-28 there. That thing, if it fires gold at me, like most of the enemy tanks are, and they should be against a big vehicle like this, is a terrifying prospect. And no, the T-20 actually managed to pen me with a regular round, and there goes 400 of my hit points. But I got to get some shots in here. We put one more into the STRV, 4257, and the long intra-clip reload on this tank means that you need to just keep moving and keep bouncing in between all of your shells. I'm hoping we can get that one in, and I don't manage to. And now, looks like the gloves are off, boys and girls, something that I should have done a little while ago. Now I am going to be loading gold. Looks like the Basoto on the enemy team is a knowledgeable player and counts my 3 shells. And now, it's me and Vendar in a 2 versus 9 scenario. Let's see if we can take out all of the enemy tanks, or at least take out as many as we possibly can on our way down. First one, Basoto, shut down. T-28 aiming for me here, but now I've got heat, mate, so I can go through the whole of the top of your vehicle. And there you go, a second shutdown there. As Vendar puts around it, but he takes 500 damage against, I guess, the glut of tanks over towards the west. They've got their work cut out for them. Look at the hit points on the enemy team here. Both of the full health tanks on the enemy team are the ones fighting Vendar. I give him a little bit of a pep talk. I say, take out time. No, we're not taking out food. We got this. Take our time. The Lorraine puts 1 shell into me, and Vendar finishes off the Lorraine while I was reloading. I give Vendar a big thumbs up there, and then I finish off the 88, and suddenly a 2 versus 9 is starting to look a lot more possible with a 2 versus 5. Even though we're outnumbered, we're not outgunned in this scenario. We, up until that shot into the T-29, had a 2,500 hit point deficit, but it is quickly changing around now as we put 2 rounds into a T-29, and I hope that Vendar is going to start to tag the back of the 56. As the T-29 actually crashes off a cliff, now a 2 versus 4 scenario, but I am down to a 1-shot, only 262 hit points, and Vendar is being pushed by an 88 on full hit points, which is a terrifying prospect to be able to hit that vehicle, even with gold rounds possibly to the top of the vehicle. And I'm just hoping that Vendar's going to be able to hit this CC56 for me. As one CC56 is actually spotted out towards the left, I've got to try and be able to get them, and I'm trying to get forwards. Hopefully I'm going to be able to pick up the frag here. I'm going to risk it. Vendar shuts down the STRV M4257, but they crash. What do you know? Vendar, not like this. But don't worry, I got this. I don't got this. As Vendar says, 4-star in the chat and F's in chat for our dreams of being able to get through this one. And I can tell you, I had a quick look at the battle hits afterwards, and this one ended up doing something really wild. They actually managed to thread the needle and go through my turret ring here in what must be a miracle pixel shot, because I just felt so safe in that scenario. I'm just against a CC56. I thought I had this one absolutely made, but unfortunately we didn't. And me and Vendar fall short, even though we picked up 4 times as many kills between us as the rest of our team combined. This was just a hill too far for the last 2 tanks. So high caliber here for the CC67, and this was an ace tanker for 958 base experience that got an extra 524 from courageous resistance from that high caliber. And when we take a look at the damage that we dealt with that 5,500 and Vendar doing 4,000, yeah, we pretty much were the team here, as you would probably expect from top tier tanks inside a very nice matchup. Shout out to the holistic play from the enemy team there. They really came together to pick us apart, with the Lorraine really applying some pressure while I was reloading, not allowing me to dictate the pace of the combat, and the T-28 getting some nice clean shells in. And so, Vendar, Renant, it was a pleasure to play with you in this tense endgame situation. And for anyone who wants to see the crash, I'm sorry to do this to you, buddy, but it happens to the best of us. A very stressful situation surrounded by multiple vehicles. Manages to finish off the STRV, but I think he thought he believed he could fly a little bit here. Oh, no, no. 4-star, 4-star. Yeah. 4-star ending for our team here. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, a couple of important announcements. Firstly, make sure you click this sack inside your garage if you have been visiting your friends this holiday ops, because if you don't actually click to claim the rewards, you're not going to get the rewards. Secondly, today is the very final day of the Twitch drops monthly tokens. Lasting, they're going to finish tomorrow, so make sure you spend all of your tokens if you've been claiming them on Twitch. And lastly, I'm going live today with a VZ55 Tech Tree Showcase, as it's currently top of the tree. So if you want to know everything there is to know about the Czechoslovakian heavy tanks, come along and I'll be showcasing the entire line, culminating with what is possibly the hardest hitting 1-2 punch inside the game. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.